everyone, Marlene here with Buffalo Check Chicks. Today I'm doing a blast from the past, and I'm going to show you some of my favorites from my childhood years. So these were dolls that were usually a boy and a girl, and they were pretty big, and you could sit them up, lay them down. When you laid them down, their eyes would close shut. And I had a pair of them. I called them brother and sister. Now this was one of my favorite dolls. Do you remember Susie Smart Doll? She came with a little school desk and chalkboard, and there was some chalk you could put in her hands, and I think it had a little drawing tablet on there. Loved it. Who doesn't remember Mattel's Chatty Cathy? It had a pull string in the back, and you would pull it out, and she would say several little things like "I love you" and different things like that. One of my favorite dolls, and I'm not sure if it was the first talking doll, but I loved her. Okay, here's another one of my favorite dolls. Who remembers Thumbelina? You would hold her up and place her up on your shoulder like a real baby, and her little head would rotate round and round. No, not like The Exorcist. But she was very cuddly, very cute, and I remember my mom saying that was the only thing I wanted for Christmas that year. My parents looked everywhere for a Thumbelina. Could not find one except a store display. So my mom asked if she could buy it. It was dirty, and she brought it home and washed it up, took all the clothing off and washed it. Looked like brand new. I never knew the difference. So Thumbelina was one of my favorites. I don't know anyone that did not have a Raggedy Ann and Raggedy Andy. These cloth dolls with the red yarn hair were just adorable. And I remember my mom made a pair of these, and I had them sitting on my bed for the longest time. And they, of course, were another one of my favorites. Well, I have to say, this was my favorite toy ever. This stuffed little monkey with the white plastic tennis shoes and yellow plastic banana, and a pair of red suspenders, and I think they had a little bell on the suspenders. I took this monkey everywhere with me, and I think I told you the story of how I lost it. We had taken my grandparents when we lived down in Southern California to see the ocean for the very first time, and there I left it on the beach, and I cried all the way home, and I missed it so much that I actually ordered one off of eBay a few years ago. I have such fond memories of my tricycle, bright red tricycle, that I remember riding around till I was 4 or 5 years old, because back then tricycles were quite large, and it had the little streamers off the handlebars and the little bell that ding ding. I rode that for years and just loved my tricycle. It was a special day. My parents said they went out and bought me this swing set, and it only had 2 swings and a glider on it, and it was bright red. They set it up, but all the way home in the car, my parents said, I just kept saying, "Oh, Boise, oh, Boise," and I loved my swing set. Well, I never really got the knack of using a yo-yo, but I think everybody had one. We all would tuck them down in our pockets, and sometimes the string would get all tangled, and I don't remember being able to do any of the tricks, but it was fun to play with. And I think the brand name was Duncan. So much fun. I don't know how long Play-Doh has been around, but I tell you, I loved it as a child. There were all the primary colors. We'd sit at the table and make all kinds of little shapes with our Play-Doh. And actually, I remember loving the smell. It was like a salty smell. And I can't say whether or not, but I think I did eat a little bit of Play-Doh growing up. I remember when Silly Putty first came out, and we just couldn't wait until the Sunday newspaper came, because then we could use a Silly Putty on the comics, because the comic strips were in color, and we would have so much fun with that Silly Putty. My time with Silly Putty did not last that long, because I remember getting it all in my hair. And my mom finally threw it away. I loved playing jacks when I was a kid. In fact, I remember playing jacks all the way up until about 7th grade. And we got rather good at it. Now look at these jacks. They are the old ones. They're really thick. And I think it came, I want to say 10 or 12. And then you got the little round ball. And there was all kinds of games you could use with the jacks. But be careful and make sure you get them all up, because my dad would always come out on the kitchen floor and end up stepping on a jack barefoot. Ouch! Wearing these hats outside when it was really breezy, and the little pinwheel would just spin and spin, and we really thought that we could actually fly away. Do you remember these hats? Well, Mr. Potato Head has come a long way, because when I was a kid, you only got the little plastic pieces, and you had to go into the kitchen and ask Mom, can I have a potato? And we would stick the little plastic nose, ears, mouth, and make all kinds of Mr. Potato Heads. And it sounds silly now. And Mr. Potato Head has changed. Now they have the plastic Mr. Potato Head. But I think it was funner using a real potato. And then maybe Mom would take the potato back in a while and slice it up and fry it up for dinner. But Mr. Potato Head was fun. When we went on car rides, and every Sunday was usually a family outing, Mom always had Ticklebee game that we could play in the car. Does anybody remember Ticklebee? It was a maze, and it had like a magnet wand that you would carry the bee through the maze. And we also had these Willow toys. And it would keep my brother and I busy in the back seat on the car trip. Now, how many of you remember Gumby? It was a posable, kind of like a light plastic toy that you could bend and play with. And of course, Gumby had a friend, and his friend's name was Pokey. And they don't look like they're so much fun now, but back in the day, we loved them, and they came from a cartoon on TV, Gumby Adventures. Now, I remember the first Super Balls that came out, and they never lasted because they bounced so high. It was like a rubber ball, but you would bounce it hard on the ground, and it would go past your rooftop. Usually always ended up in a neighbor's yard, and we never saw it again. Now, skates back in my day. You actually wore your shoes, and you clamped these on to your shoes, and then it came with a little skate key that you would tighten up to fit on your shoes. And I remember many a times I would fall down, scrape up my knees, because these skates would never last. You always had to stop, readjust them, and although they were fun, I had many a twisted ankle and a scraped knee from using these skates. So for quiet time, maybe Mom would bring out a deck of old maid cards, and we could just sit there and play Old Maid. Do any of you remember Old Maid or any of the other card games like Match? Lots of fun. And life back then was a barrel of monkeys. These monkeys all came in this barrel, and you would use a monkey and you would try to hook them all together in one long chain. Now, I remember these. How many of you had these little play high heel shoes? They were bright red glittery, and they had yellow elastic bands that went around your feet. They never really stayed on, and again, they were sure ankle twisters. Now, if you were lucky, maybe for Christmas you got one of these houses. They were made out of metal, and each room had decorations that were like imprinted right on the metal, and then you had furniture with it that you could decorate your house with, and they were very sharp, but lots of fun. So how many hot pad holders did you make using the weaving loom? I never got it quite right. I always missed something, so it never, part of it would be sticking up and part sticking down. Maybe it was 5 inches at the top and 3 inches at the bottom. But Mom liked them, or she said she did, and she put them in the kitchen drawer anyways. It's Slinky, la 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 la. Well, I think we all had a Slinky. It was another toy. It was a lot of fun to play with. They would walk down the stairs, and I don't know, but it was like a big spring that always, once you got it uncoiled and a little crimp in the spring, they never worked again either, but they were fun while they lasted. Well, paper dolls were always a favorite of mine, and you got the paper doll and little outfits that you would cut out with a pair of scissors. They had little tabs, and you could put the little outfits on your dolls, and you had to be really careful. Once the tab broke off, you were going to ask Mom for the Scotch tape. But paper dolls were always a favorite of mine. And then later on, paper dolls kind of went away, and we had color forms. Color forms were, it was like a sticky tacky mat, and you had your little doll that you would place on the mat, and the clothing were also sticky. You would take them off and put them on your little dolls, and you could make all different kinds of outfits. A lot of fun. Well, I think this was a Christmas wish come true for me. As a little girl, I had this little mini piano with a bench, and it was large enough for a child to sit at and actually play. And I think I really got my love of music from that little piano. Next, this is a mini jukebox player. It stood about 4 foot tall, and it played all my records, and it lit up, and I had it for years and years. Just loved it. It would play music like, some of my favorite records were Goosey Goosey Gander. Anybody know that song? That's an old one. Or How Much Is That Doggy in the Window? I would lay on my bed, put my records on my little mini jukebox, and listen for hours. Did you have a favorite little golden book? I sure did. And I loved just looking at all the pictures, and my mom or dad would read me stories. Some of my favorites were bedtime stories and many, many more. In fact, I have a huge collection of about 400 little golden books. Some that they don't even print anymore. And I have one that is a war bond issue that actually has a dust cover on it. Here's another favorite, Sleepy book. So cute. I think that Dr. Dan and Nurse Nancy came with Band-Aids in them. And I always wanted to be a nurse growing up. And guess what? I did. And I loved playing with this cute little nurse kit. I think it even came with a microscope. Can you believe it? All the little medical utensils they used, and we would play nurse and doctor. Lincoln Logs were also a favorite toy. You would build a log cabin, take it apart, make another one, put the little green roof on, and it was just fun. Everything was stored in a metal tin with a lid. My bedroom was decorated so cute. I had a twin bed, and it was decorated in pink. In fact, I think the walls were very pale pink, and I know I had a pink bedspread and ballerinas. In fact, I have these ballerinas hanging on my wall. They were paint by number. I remember my mom painting them, and then she would let me try. Of course, you had to stay within the lines, so I'm sure she had to go back and fix it. But everybody had a chenille bedspread. Mine was pink and fluffy, just like this one. And I just loved it. And you knew and were required to, as a child, to get up and clean your room and make your bed. We had some of the cutest dresses. Some had pinafores, like this one, and then we had little skirts with the suspenders, and they were just adorable. A lot of the clothing was made by Buster Brown. The shoes that I got were Buster Brown. In fact, I even put Buster Brown shoes on my kids. Now here's the little Buster Brown dress. Isn't it adorable? Little Mary Jane Buster Brown shoes. So cute. We always dressed up, you know. If we went out, we always put our Sunday best on. Now this, I have to say, was my favorite outfit, and I still have mine. This is a Dale Evans cowgirl suit, and it was a little skirt with the cowgirl top, and it was just adorable. And I always wore them with my cowgirl boots. Remember when lawn chairs used to look like this? I remember tipping over in these so many times. And Mom served lemonade in these. I still see these at antique stores. I'm so tempted to pick them up. They bring back so many memories of having fun outside. Of course, when Barbies came into play, I used to sit outside forever with my Barbie doll and her best friend, Midge. And of course there was Ken and his best friend, Alan. And I had the Barbie doll case that opened up. It had little trunks in there where you stuffed all your little Barbie doll clothes and the Barbie doll shoes and accessories. In fact, my mom made almost all my Barbie doll clothes. Not only did my mom make the Barbie doll clothes, but she sewed most of my clothes. She had a Singer sewing machine, and I have so many memories of going to the fabric store with Mom, sitting down at the counter, either at Woolworths or at TG&Y, looking through all the patterns and the fabric, and next day Mom would have me a brand new dress. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If it brings back good memories, please give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comment section below. Did you have a favorite toy? Did I show you one of your favorites from growing up? Okay, you guys, I'll see you soon. Love you guys. Bye for now.